Is there a doctor in the house?
Doctor, you have a visitor in the main lobby.
Hello and welcome to the Talk to the Doc podcast. This week, we're going to dig into the elements that make great businesses thrive, as always. Today's topic is around how small business owners can intentionally build a people-first culture that can, drive engagement, retention, long-term success, all those kinds of things. But first, hey, I'm your host, Steve the Dr. Meek, and the doctor is in. Joining me today, I have Tom Delanoy here from Thomas Edwards Group. And we're going to dive right in. Welcome, Tom.
Steve, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Well, while you're here, might as well tell us a little bit more about yourself so everybody knows why they should listen to all your words of wisdom.
Sure. I am born and raised here in Dallas, Texas. Grew up here my whole life. I am a lifelong Aggie, so bear with me if there's any Aggie jokes today. But this year our football team is decent, so maybe we'll have less jokes today. But my background is accounting, believe it or not. I went to school and got an accounting degree, did my CPA, worked in public accounting, did 13 years of accounting.
Wow.
Wasn't good at it, didn't enjoy it. It took me a while to figure all that out, but I was looking for my next opportunity, and I met the owner of the firm I'm with now, Thomas Edwards Group, while I was looking for a job. Ended up joining them, and gosh, I've been there 20 years now, and I'm in a leadership seat now. I'm a chief operating officer for the company and run the business, and it's been just a phenomenal ride. If you told me 25 years ago I'd be doing this, I would never have guessed it.
Well, it almost sounds like a hair club for men store. You liked it so much you bought the company, kind of a deal.
I did invest in the business and am an owner in the company now, and I'm glad I did for a lot of reasons. It feels very natural what we do. Our mission is to help people, and I love that cause. You talk about trying to have a cause or a passion for what you do. That's it. And we just had a meeting this week with our team about how we are supposed to show up every day with that mission, and I love it.
I like to think that if you enjoy what you're doing, it doesn't feel like work. Which, if you're going to spend 40 hours plus a week every week doing something, you might as well try to find something that doesn't feel like work.
It's so true, and I don't think I felt that way previously in my career. When I got into this business, I tell my wife all the time. I tell people in my friend circle the same thing, that I love what I do, and so I think you're right. It really makes work easier.
A little secret about me: when I first went to college, I started as with a journalism degree, and after a period of time, when I heard what people were graduating with a journalism degree, I changed to business and got my degree in business. But now it's come full circle. As a consultant, I spend a lot of time interviewing people. Now that I started the podcast, it's more interviewing, writing, all of those kinds of things. So I've gone from not wanting to be a journalist to, hey, I'm an accidental journalist again.
I like that. Well, I think it's really tough for anybody coming up young. I have three kids, and watching them matriculate, go to college, and then two of them have figured out their next path. I think it's really hard. You have to pick at age 16, 17, 18 what you think you're going to do the rest of your life, and then go to college and study that, and then go try and do it. And I'm proof that that doesn't always happen. I took a
Right.
total left turn in my career. And so I think, my advice to anybody that's going through college now is don't think you're just married to that path. You can go a lot of different directions in your life.
That's so true. Well, let's go ahead and dig in. I'm the doctor, so this is your appointment. I'm going to take you through this. It's a pretty painless process, but the first thing we like to do before, as a physician, as a fake, fully trained physician, I like to try and make sure and go through the motions of let's find out about what's going on. So let's start off with kind of the pulse. What do you think the current state of the market is? Kind of from your point of view.
Our business is really dependent on the job market. So I
Okay.
really study it. I'm no expert by, and I don't think anybody is. They tell you that they're not. It's hard to predict what the economy is going to do and what the job market's going to do. But I do. I will tell you this. It's been for the last 5 years, and I know it's gotten a little better because things have settled out after the pandemic. But it's been really hard to find good talent and to retain it. And I think that's the key. And I have lunch every day with a business contact, whether it's a CFO or other leader in a business. And I ask the question, what are the biggest things keeping you up? And that's what I hear the most is talent, finding the talent and retaining the talent.
Absolutely. I like to say that we're in the people business. We just happen to work with technology, and for us, and every service business out there, just having the right people on the bus is so critical and so difficult.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we said it earlier, if you hire good people and retain them, your job becomes easier too. I think if you are able to find good people, man, you want to retain them. And so it's two pieces. You got to hire them and you've got to retain them. And I think it's hard to find good people right now.
So when you're talking to these executives that are out there trying to find people, are they looking for certain things, or just finding people with? Are they missing soft skills, technical skills, all skills? What do you feel like the biggest challenge is with them?
There are so many different approaches. I've seen people approach hiring with assessment tests, right? Where that's everything. And I think that's a bad direction sometimes because you get dependent on one skill set and really you're trying to create clones of everybody you've already hired and that's all you're looking for. And if they don't fit the box, they're not going to be considered. I like it when that's a data point. And I think more people are doing that. The other thing I see people do when they're hiring is they've got a wish list. Maybe it's 15 items of things they want to see. They need this degree. They need this software skill set. They need 10 years of this. They want you to be very well versed in all the things that you're going to do in the job. Where's the training? Why can't you grow and develop people sometimes too? And I think that's missing sometimes. And again, when you have that kind of a wish list, it's hard for every candidate to check those boxes. And so we miss a lot of times on good candidates because they don't necessarily check every box. I think culture fit's such a big piece. And do they fit the personality that you want to mesh with as a leader? And will they fit with your team? So I think we got to look for more of those softer skills and less of the hard skills sometimes. Now, the hard skills, you got to be able to do the job. But I think some things can be learned and trained. And you don't have to check 15 out of 15 boxes.
Now, if it's so hard to identify and acquire those ideal people, what's your advice to organizations who are trying? They've got good people already. What should they be doing to hold on to their good peeps?
It's the $1 million question. I think the word engagement is what you hear so much in the business world now. It's the buzzword, and every company's probably got their own spin on it. We did a survey a year ago. We've started trying to do that more frequently. We've done back-to-back years now. We did a survey a few years ago too, but it wasn't, annually. We're starting to do that to get feedback from our team about what's important to them. I think you got to listen to your team first and find out where you've got blind spots, where you're not addressing things that might be percolating issues under the surface you don't know about within your business, whether it's an overbearing management team, whether it's piling on too much work and not listening and not prioritizing well. Your team can tell you. And so I think that's something that has helped us is the surveys and listening to the feedback. We also have incorporated stay interviews. I love that technique. Yeah, you hear about exit
Okay.
interviews all the time, but what about the stay interview where someone's been working for you and annually, they've got their supervisor, but maybe you do a skip level where they do a lunch with someone a level above them. We've been doing that, and we've got a structure to it where you ask some questions, but there's some open-ended dialogue to it as well. And we ask questions like, what do you love about your job? What would you change about your job? What resources would help you do your job better? And we ask, have you ever thought about leaving? What a great thing to talk about in a safe place. We try to create a safe place there and I've had people tell me, I did think about it, and here's why. Um, there was one person that told me in her first 3 months, she thought very hard about leaving. Did I make the right choice coming here? And it opened my eyes. I started to do a 90-day kind of check up with people after that. And I wanted to hear how it's going. Are you feeling overwhelmed? So you learn a lot if you listen to your people.
Oh, that's amazing. What else? Anything else engagement wise that you're doing that you feel has really helped with maybe your own retention?
Well, I talked about the surveys, the stay interviews, the skip. It's a skip level up, an area where we can offer flexibility to our employees, and I really think it's something that the team is received favorably. They like the flexibility. There's a demonstrated trust. And I think that's a key word when you're talking about engagement of your employees. They need to feel like they are trusted. And I think that's one way we demonstrate that. We don't micromanage our team. They have flexibility uh, to work remotely 3 days of the week. And we're in the office 2 days. I want to see people and I want people to see each other. So that's important. But that flexibility really goes a long way. And that's something that's shown up in both of the last two surveys that we've done with our employees. They've really called that out as a favorite thing that we do. And I talked to a lot of companies. We're coming out of the pandemic, everybody had to be remote. Then everybody slowly started coming back in, and that's been the trend. Is more companies are pulling their employees back into the office. We haven't done that, and I think we've been able to manage it very well, and I think our team loves it.
We haven't done it either. A lot of our peers have pulled people back to the office. We just feel such, it's a quandary, I think, for an owner. You feel that connectedness a lot more when you're in the office, but people want to work remote, and it's always a back and forth of what's the best way to play it and still keep your team.
We struggle. I think the things that I think are the biggest challenge are training, right? The training moments when you're onboarding someone and trying to get them up to speed. If they're not with people every day, they don't have the opportunity to sponge, to walk around the corner and talk to somebody. Those are great moments that you're missing. And then I just think culture overall is a little bit less, so to speak, if everybody's disconnected those other days. So uh, we're downsizing our space because we don't utilize the big space we had 5 and 7 years ago. We don't need it now. So we're gonna move it to smaller space. Everybody will sit closer together on the days we're in the office, and I think that's going to be better for us too. So I'm excited about that.
Uh, we've been considering having like a day in the week or a couple of days a week where people come in and be around people. I don't want to be one of those organizations. My friends working at larger organizations where they make them come into the office and maybe the guy like covers an international territory where nobody's even in the local office. So he's going into the office sitting in a queue by himself because none of his team is around him anyways.
No, I agree. I agree. It's a tough balance, and everybody's got their own thoughts on it. And I think there can be lots of ways it works. I just love the flexibility when we're able to offer it. I think the team values it.
Sure. Well, let's go ahead and move on. Let's talk a little bit about the heart rate. What performance metrics do you think tell the story for you right now?
Well, I think one of the biggest things I'm proud and I'll point to is our team's tenure. We've got a really good and tenured team, and I think that leads to some better engagement as well. Our average tenure is over 7 years now. I've got a few people that are younger than that 3 to 4 year tenure with us, but I've got a lot of people at the 10 and over year tenure with us. It does so much for the business. First of all, if you enjoy the people you work with, work's more fun. And I think that's the case. We've got just a really good team. And I could talk about hiring later and how we hire uh, for the long haul. But that tenure shows up in many ways. And the biggest way I think it shows up, aside from the culture and the people that you work with, is with our customers. Our clients really
Sure.
benefit from that consistency. As a customer, you look for someone you trust, someone you're going to want to work with again and again. I always use the example of a CPA firm. If you've got a CPA that's been doing your accounting, your tax return, or whatever for you for years, it's hard to change. You feel like there's so much invested, and you trust them. I want our business to be that way with regard to our clients. I want them to trust us, have a lot invested. We should know a lot about their business, understand their culture, understand what their hiring uh, requirements are, and be well versed and be able to go represent them to the market. And I believe that carries a long way. And the tenure we bring is a piece of that.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, especially in a small organization, sometimes just losing one person, one key person can, create like a huge ripple,
Hmm.
across all your service delivery or client satisfaction or whatever it happens to be.
Absolutely. And then there's a cost associated with turnover. The retraining, the time spent hiring, I don't want to call it wasted time because hiring is important, but think about what you could be deploying your time um, and efforts towards if you weren't spending it hiring. So I like the retention and the engagement piece. That's a really big part of what we do.
Now, as a leader, how do you balance that with, when to bring in new blood into the organization, or are you ever concerned that the longevity works or could work against you at some point?
That's a fair question. And I've been here 20 years, so I wonder if I'm roadblock in any way. No, I think, you can become a creature of habit, and the way your team thinks is the way it thinks after so long, if they've been there a while. So you do need to get fresh ideas. I seek external. I'm in a professional networking group, and every month I meet with a group of other business leaders that way and get ideas. But from a hiring perspective, I think you do. I go back to that survey we talked, or sorry, the skills assessment, personality assessment we talked about earlier. Using that as a nice data point, but if all you're going to do is hire the same type of person, you're going to get one way of group think, no diversity of thought. For me, that's not a way to run a business. I want diversity of thought, and so I do like that we hire, people of varied backgrounds. I like former athletes from college. I like people that worked all through school. I think that shows a work ethic. So there's things I look for. It's not just one specific personality. So we're always trying to add good talent. We've got a talent acquisition specialist we've had through the years, and that's not inexpensive to do. But we've got that person always trolling for good talent.
Oh yeah.
Even if we're not necessarily going to hire someone today, I like to know that there's good talent out there and just stay in touch with them. We've got a spreadsheet of people that we've maintained over the years that I may not hire them today, but in 2, 3 years, maybe I will, and I'll have a need for them. So I like to stay in touch. So that's a tool we've used over the years to just generate a just-in-time inventory when we're ready to hire.
Oh wow, that's great. And I did really like something that I picked out of what you said, and you talked about having peers that you talk to. I think that's something that I think that for us, I really need to drive down further into organization of getting not just myself in the leadership with peers that they periodically interact with, but encourage people to have other peers in other organizations. Fortunately in IT, a lot of our guys have worked with other engineers and they stay in touch and stuff. But just having opposite ways of thinking or slightly different ways of thinking can carry a lot of weight.
I agree. I've got some friendly competitors, so to speak, in our industry that I've built relationships with, and we'll go to lunch or breakfast or just have calls and talk about what's working, not working, what are they seeing in the industry, just to make sure it validates what you're feeling. If we're a little slower, I would love to know if some other companies are feeling the same pain. If it's just us, do we need to be doing something differently? Because you only know what's within your universe sometimes. And so I love to hear what other people have going on. I learn quite often from those conversations.
Yeah, same here. I've got a lot of different things, but I just got back from Washington, D.C., where I met with 300 peer companies, all throughout the U.S. And we exchange ideas, meet with our key vendors, talk through processes. And, I always like to say that I've got these conference friends, that I hook up with, and we reconnect and talk about everything going on in our world. It's nice to have those peer relationships.
100% agree. I've got several of those, and the networking group I mentioned has been just invaluable to me.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about weight. When I think of weight, I think of strategy. What strategy metric should leaders know about to be working on right now?
That's a great question. I think you need to know, what's important. I talked about it earlier. I think you need to know what's important among your team members in terms of pain points. I don't know if it's a metric, but again, we did a survey, and I love the surveys that you can layer, prior year to current year and see where you've moved the needle, asking the same questions and seeing if you're improving. You take the results from the prior year, you put committee together and you figure out what you're going to do to try to move the needle on the things that are recurring themes, if you will, across the survey. And that's what we've done. And so I love those metrics to say last year to this year, how did we do? Did we move the needle? And if we didn't, we've got to really focus on that for next year.
Now, I've heard you reference the survey multiple times. It sounds like it's doing a great job helping you kind of dig in and get real anonymous information about what people think. But how deep do you go into the survey with them? How much of the actual survey do you talk about with them?
Good question. We struggle with that. I just put a calendar invite on there for a few weeks from now to go over the survey results with the team. I want to have everybody hear how we did. And it's, first of all, I'll say this, surveys are hard for me because I'm a perfectionist.
Sure.
And I want us to score highly in everything. And, it's all relative. It's a 1 to 5 scale, one being the best. We came in the 2 to 2.5 range in quite a few places, and that's not great for me. I want to be 1 to 2 at worst. And so it gives us places to focus. But then you've got to take those. So you've got to listen first and take some critique, and it's hard for me. But then you've got to take that to your team and talk about, hey, I hear you. I want to commit to, we are listening to what you're saying. Now, not everything can be addressed. Some things are one-off, things that I'm not sure are mainstream. But where I see common themes, recurring messages that have come through the survey, that's what we're focused on, and that's what we're going to communicate to our team. So I believe it's important to communicate the results. Otherwise, if you don't do that, people don't take the survey very seriously after a while.
Sure. Yeah, we actually do surveys ourselves as well. And being an engineer for a big part of my life, I just see results as facts. It's a fact, and let's talk about it. But unfortunately, sometimes that can be perceived as negative, kind of a thing. So something that I've taken away from our surveys is how sometimes the way I talk about those numbers doesn't come across as positive, or that we're working on, or any of those kinds of things. Just this number's low, whatever it is that I happen to say. So I've really had to take that feedback from the survey and be self-critical. And so I'm reading this book, The Gap in the Gain, right now to help me deal with just deal with the fact that if a number isn't where I want it, or what I consider to be a perfectionist ideal, how to deal with that in my communications with others.
I like that. I mean, it's a self-reflection there a little bit, saying how can I be better? I have to do that with uh, my approach to this for sure. I think, like I said, I'm a perfectionist. I want us to be a company that wins best places to work. I want us to be a place people are proud to call their home. If I'm being honest, we have work to do there right now. We had a really tough year at the beginning of 2024. Our business was struggling, and we went through a right sizing of the business. We had ramped way up when the hiring craze was going on in 2021. Our business, we couldn't keep up with it. We had to keep hiring recruiters. We doubled our headcount. Then it all of a sudden leveled back
Wow.
out. We had to go through a downsizing, and that was painful. And it was really painful for not just the leadership team, but the employees that were still here. They lost friends in the business, and the morale really took a dive for a while there. And we've had to work at, you don't build morale with a wave of a wand. It's built
Right.
in drops and sprinkles here and there, and it takes a lot of time and consistency. So that's what we've really focused on, is to rebuild that. And you go back to the survey to reinforce, are you doing those things? So that's been hard.
It's definitely difficult to kind of go through a tough year like that. But is there anything special you did as a leader to lead your team through those challenges, keeping the morale up?
I think, it came from the survey. The feedback was we need more transparency. I think people were surprised when they found out we had to go through those layoffs and restructurings. They did not realize the business was struggling. So being more transparent as a leader and, as a business, just to our team, we needed that. So one thing we've done is we've put a monthly financial presentation out there. We meet weekly with an all hands meeting and go through some things, but once a month in that meeting, we now do a financial review. So we put it out there, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, and a lot less surprise. I think at least people now know that we're transparent about the results. We had a good month or we had a not so good month. I think there's appreciation for that. It remains to be seen if that creates more anxiety or stress among the team sometimes. But that was something we got a lot of feedback. We were surprised, caught off guard. You don't tell us things, so we wanted to be more transparent. So that's one thing we've done. And then for me personally, I noticed in the survey that they felt like leadership was not as connected to the rest of the team. And
Okay.
so we've really worked on that too, trying to just make sure we're doing more lunches and meetings with people in the office, taking them out and doing one-to-one connections to make sure we're staying just in front of everybody. I get out of my office more. I told you earlier, I'm an introvert. I think it's easy for me to sit in my office all day, uh, do work, so to speak. Part of my job needs to be get out of the office, walk around on the floor, and just connect with people and talk to people and listen. I'm doing that much more now. That's something my mentor for years has coached me to do, and not natural for me. So I've got to work harder at it.
Yeah, I can see where there'd be definitely a lot of value. Now, I guess, how do you do that virtually? If you're a hybrid workplace, how do you do management by walking around if you're virtual?
It's not as easy. You've got to be more intentional. It's the same thing we talk about with training and being intentional about those moments. I've got to pick up the phone, try to do. We use Zoom, so try to use a Zoom meeting to just be live with people and visit with them. And that you can't just walk down the hall. You've got to call them, have them answer, and I try to be on camera with people. I like doing that. I like to see the other person I'm talking to. I just think there's a connection that way versus just a blank screen.
What, you can call and talk to somebody?
Phone calls.
Yeah, my engineer used to joke, or my service manager used to joke that I can call an engineer and it'll go right to voicemail. But if I text him, he'll respond right away with, "Hey, what do you need?"
Isn't that crazy? I've got people I'll call that say, I don't check this voicemail regularly. If you need me, text me. I'll play the game. I'll do it the way they ask.
So, you're talking a little bit about, just kind of leading through the tough times and stuff. And, how do you, maybe when the metrics are off, if you're providing financials that may not be so favorable, how do you keep people believing in the mission when the metrics might be screaming a little bit something otherwise?
I think it's a consistency you try to strive for in your business. We've got mission, vision, values, and everybody does. I'm sure they're hanging on our wall. I promise you that. But we really try to engage the team in that. And it starts from the first week they're in the job. They'll sit with three or four of the partners in the business and talk about aspects of our mission, vision, values. And it's not just the words, it's examples that have been lived out in the organization, stories that we can share with them about here's a time when I saw it with a teammate. Here's a time I saw it with a client. Here's how the mission of our business was reflected in this decision we did. I think that becomes more real to them. And so you start by building that foundation with your team that this is really important to us. And then we reinforce it with different moments. We did a mission, vision, value month where we had people post within a chat different moments over that course of the month to to recognize teammates for living and walking the talk as regards to our mission, vision, values, but also just to celebrate that we're doing a good job with that with regard to the team, our candidates that we serve, and our clients that we serve. So that's how we try to ingrain it in there. And I think then when you've got tougher moments or hard decisions to make, you fall back to your mission, vision, values. What does that call for? What's the right decision in this moment? What are we trying to achieve? When we went through some headcount reduction, I don't think there's any easy way to coat that. You just know that's going to be a tough moment. But from that point forward, you try to reinforce what got you to be a successful company. It's those moments of recognition, the kudos within your team, and then just really reinforcing what we do and what makes us special. And that comes from our mission, vision, values.
For me, I think one of the one of the things that I struggle with, people don't talk about enough post COVID, is when you're having tough times with your team or tough things going on, you could just bring in free donuts and that would solve all their problems. But now with everyone hybrid, you can't do that until I figure out a virtual donut. It's going to stay like that.
Well, you can send gifts to their house sometimes too. That's always appreciated. There used to be an app called Drizzly where you could send wine and
Oh,
spirits to people's houses. So we did that during the pandemic with clients. And but yeah, it's tough to it's I see what you're saying. You need to be in the office to celebrate some of those.
right. Or maybe Uber drinks or something if that's a thing. I don't know. Just
That's it. That's it.
now I heard you talk a little bit about how you share the information. Are you doing like a full great game? What is that? Great game of business level of financials, or do you figure out a place to where you limit how much information you share?
It's limited, but I think it's still pretty telling. We start with the top line. How are the sales for the month? That's what everybody's curious about, and that's where their commissions are paid anyway. So we start there, and then we drive down to quickly to the net income, so they can see, did we make money as a business this month? And that's really, what I mean, what you're in business for. We're in business to make a profit, and so if business is struggling and not making a profit, that's a telling sign. So I think the fact that we're communicating that every month, and giving some color commentary to that, with regard to how we're feeling as a management team based on that month and the year to date trends, it gives the team a good or bad feeling for whatever the moment might be. But we do try to limit it. I don't think not everybody's wired for numbers. They're not accountants. They're not
Sure.
CPAs. So you need to keep it at a level that makes sense for everybody too.
I used to joke around that if there was a bad month, I would start the meeting and say, "Hey, I just got a call from the Pope today. He's concerned that we're competing against him as a nonprofit, and he asked us to change things around." But I don't do that as
I
much
like it.
anymore. But
Yeah, if you're not making money, what the business doesn't make sense at the end of the day. You've got to be able to make a profit.
absolutely. Now, as far as kind of keeping the team engaged and connected, what do you find to be most effective in that area?
We try to do things that get everybody together. Again, we've got some remote days where everybody's working from home, and so it's a little difficult. But we've got a couple of things that I'll speak to. One is celebrating anniversaries, whether it's team anniversary, someone that's been here 5 years, 10 years, or someone that just had a big success in the business. We try to celebrate those as well. The other thing we do is we have team goals for a quarter, and if we hit those, they're stretch goals. And if we hit those goals, we do what's called a shopping day. And it's
Okay.
it's a lot of fun. We take people to lunch, we take the team to lunch, so everybody's together for a lunch. We celebrate, and then everybody gets $150 for the day. And all you're asked to do is spend it on yourself. Go buy yourself something nice. It's just a little extra something. They're already benefiting, hopefully, from the upside of the quarter, from a compensation standpoint. But this is a little extra gift. And the only rule is to go shop for something for yourself, spoil yourself, in other words. And when we were smaller, when we had 7 to 10 people in the office, we used to come back at the end of the day and do a show and tell. What did you buy? What did you buy? And it's kind of fun to say, this is what I got myself a new pair of shoes or something. Um, and we're a little too big to do that now. We've got almost 30 people now, so we don't do that. But everybody's encouraged to go spoil themselves.
That's a great idea. I really like that. So, what was the last thing you got for yourself?
Oh my gosh, I think I did buy a pair of shoes. I used to be a big runner, so I would go spend it on a pair of running shoes. They're used more for walking now, slowing down a little bit, but still like to get out and put some wear and tear on my walking shoes now. So I think that was the last item I bought.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm a big basketball player, so I play like 3 times a week and stuff. And unfortunately, I'm also a big basketball player, so I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight. But for me, I just I love the physicality of being on the court. I love the teamwork. I love the metrics of scoring and efficiency and all of those kinds of things. And I unfortunately or fortunately mirror a lot of my thoughts around sports to business. Just there's so many parallels.
I think sports in general is a great life lesson. There's so many things to take from it. The teamwork aspect, you can become a leader through that. You can learn how to win with grace. You can learn how to be a person that doesn't succeed every time, and it doesn't get you down. You learn how to be, um, you know, regenerate and just keep going. But I love sports. Basketball was my sport. I played it all through high school. I'm 5'10", so that's where it stopped, was at the end of high school for me. But I loved the sport and still love it. It's my favorite sport.
Yeah, I'm 5'11", so I tower over you. I also have the added trash talking skill, like no get out, like no one can keep up with me there. So that served me well over the years, especially now that I play against a lot of younger guys.
You have to put them in the place, especially the young guys. You
Yeah,
need to.
get in their headspace.
Oh
Of,
yeah, yeah.
of course, part of that's because I think everyone, like in my Sunday group, everyone can dunk except for me and 2 other guys. So I really have to bring the trash talking on those days.
I don't know if you're like me, but that was my dream, and I literally had dreams where I was dunking a basketball, and you wake up and you realize that didn't happen, and that's always a reset. But yeah, I wish I could dunk.
Yeah, mine is a consistent logo 3, but
Oh,
I'll hit quite a few threes, like a couple of steps off the line. So I feel pretty good about that.
that
I,
is pretty good.
I just knew that I'd never be able to dunk, so I gave up on that right away.
Steph Curry makes it look so easy on the 3-point shot. So I don't know what's so hard about it, but for whatever reason, it's really hard for me.
Yeah, I think for me, it's all the air, all the wind in the gym blowing when I happen to shoot. Otherwise, I'd be a lot more consistent.
Absolutely. They'd all go in otherwise.
Now, as part of your tale, you were telling me about your dedicated talent acquisition specialist. I don't. That doesn't seem common for smaller organizations. Why do you feel that's such a key part of your strategy?
Well, we used it starting in about 2015, 2016. We probably 9 or 10 years ago, we decided to hire somebody, started out part-time and then made them permanent. We decided we wanted to grow. The majority owner had run it more as a lifestyle business for a while and decided, let's take this thing to another level. So we ended up growing significantly, tripled revenues, grew headcount significantly. And to do that, you need a consistent hiring mechanism. So we brought that person in, and they really helped us. And we had a couple different people in the role over that time, but those people helped us to identify great talent, stay in touch with that talent. And like I said earlier, even if we don't hire them right now, there may be a role later. And so it's great to have kind of a network of really good people you think could be a team player for you, down the road. So I really see value in it. When 2021 happened and the market went nuts from a hiring perspective and everybody was trying to find talent, I felt like we were equipped to go out and ramp up our team to meet the demand we were facing as a recruiting firm. And that helped us double again in revenue that next 2 years. It's now we've slowed back down. We're not hiring like at that pace at all, but we're always looking for really good talent. And so if you've got that ability to meet good people and talk to good people when you need to, you're ready to hire. And I think good companies should try to make space when they can for a really good person.
Gotcha. So that talent acquisition person is there. It's always touching candidates, always building your pool, but you're also opportunistic. That if you see a good hire, you'll go. You get that opportunity to get them while that limited window while they're available.
That's right, and it fits our. It's kind of we're doing what we say. We're a staffing company, recruiting firm. We think people should always be looking for good talent. We need to be doing it ourselves, and I think it's worked well for us. But when you find someone that you can't live without, you've got a good person, you want to hire them, and that's what we've done over the years.
So what's your we were talking a little bit about skills and other things. What's the secret to hiring for values or commonalities instead of just resumes? When I guess sometimes when the job market feels like musical chairs.
Our process is very deliberate, and I would say it's very hard to get hired here. And I don't, I'm not bragging about it. I just think our process sometimes
You're
makes it
bragging.
hard. We
Yeah, you're bragging.
I'm bragging. I'm bragging. No, it's hard. It's hard for the standpoint of we've got 7 or 8 people that'll be part of the process. So you're meeting a lot of people. You've got to get a consensus. If anybody does a thumbs down on a person, we take that seriously, and we're probably not going to move forward with the person. So there's a lot of people to meet and to make a favorable impression on. The other thing I think we do with our hiring process that really works well is we weave our mission, vision, values into it. I've got questions planted throughout the multiple rounds of the interview that speak to those mission, visions, and values and bring that out of candidates. And if I don't see that they're living the way their work life the way and their personal life the way we want, I'm not sure they're going to be a good fit. And so those questions really help us to flesh some of that. It may be something around how do you deal with customer service, and it's more robust than that. But talking about customer service, it may be talking about teammates. How have you dealt with your teammates in tough times? And so just putting them in behavioral situations and listening to how they respond, and it gives us a much better sense for will they work well with us.
I love that. We ascribe to the scaling up business framework, and one of the things it talks about a lot is making sure that you keep your core values alive in the organization. And it sounds like if you're using that at the hiring stage of things, then you're absolutely keeping it alive, putting it front and center, and using your core values as that guiding light for what every ideal resource or person should be.
I agree. I think, and it's not by accident. We've been intentional about this. My partner Cliff, he's well read. He has studied this. He's read a lot of books on it. He's kind of mentored me on it, and so we take those learnings from these different books he's read and pulled information from, and built this culture, and then the way we hire around our mission, vision, values, and those things we learned.
Now, aside from the hiring process, how else does culture kind of show up in your day-to-day operation side of things?
Well, it's a three-legged stool for us. It's the people that we work with, our team members. It's the candidates that we represent that are trying to find a job. It's got to show up there, and then it's with the culture. Oh, sorry, with the clients that we're helping to fill positions. So it's really a three-legged stool, and all three have to kind of play equally. You can't favor one over the other. You've got to do right by all three. We make decisions in our business on a daily basis with that in mind. So if you've got a tough situation with a customer, uh, we look at mission, vision, values. What's best for everybody involved here? How do we make sure we are doing right by everybody? And you may not be able to, but you start with that in mind. So that's, with that three-legged stool, that's how we try to run our business and weave those MVV moments into everything we do.
I like it. Put the customer in the middle and just do what's right.
There's a book out there by Carl Sewell called Customers for Life. I don't know if
Oh
you've
yeah,
read
yeah, I've
that, but
heard that.
great book. And we read it as a team years ago, and we probably ought to do it again. But there's a lot of great examples in it. He says the customer needs to always be right. And I don't know if I always agree with that because there are times where it's difficult. You feel like you might be taken advantage of a little bit if you do that. But he used an example in the book about a customer that bought a car, was driving off the lot, and I believe had an accident driving off the lot
Hmm.
and came back in and gave him the keys and said, "This car was just in an accident. I just bought it. Is there anything you guys can do for me?" He gave him a new car. And I mean, I think that's an extreme example, but it's an example of the customer needs to be cared for deeply. And I think that's sometimes hard to do, but if you can, it goes a long way. And so part of our mission is that customer focus.
I think if I remember the book, one of my favorite takeaways from it was he said something about systems that basically you need to make your system so bulletproof that your users can't screw things up, even if they're trying to. That it's incumbent upon the organization to really systematize things. And of course, being an IT guy, I used to think that was only the technical systems, but your processes, your SOPs, your training, all of those things. I think were really part of what his message was to organizations trying to build sustained quality and greatness.
I love that, and I would 100% agree. We've tried to build really consistent processes around how we do what we do. And it's not rocket science what we do. People need to fill jobs, and we bring candidates to the table. Well, how do you do that? There's a systemized process that we use. It's a repeated process, and our team is trained on it. And you don't deviate from it, really. You follow step by step the search plan that we have if you work here. And I believe in it, and it starts with putting the people first and making sure that we're intentional with everything we do and treat them with respect and empathy.
Now, if I was interviewing someone on your team, what do you think they would say about all the stuff that you've been doing this past year?
I just did the survey, so I kind of have some
Oh,
feedback
okay,
in,
okay.
and I think sometimes you think that things are being received a certain way, and maybe they're not. So some of the feedback was that some of it's extra. You're putting extra things on us to try to do, and one more metric here or one more request there. So that's something we've been, uh, thinking about the last couple of weeks here is how do we go back and try to reposition. But I think overall, people appreciate the structure we have put in place, the operational structure, the processes. It allows them to go and execute at a high level because they know exactly what they're supposed to do and they're trained well.
Gotcha. Now, out of all of this, you're taking great pains to do this survey and follow up on everything. Obviously made it through some tough times. What would you say that you're most proud of, over the past year? Just getting through tough times is always hard. You don't feel like you can catch your breath. Everything's an emergency. What would you say you're most proud of, for the organization and for yourself?
Well, I think through it all, I'm most proud that the customer focus has remained there. We went through a really difficult turnaround, if you will, with the business needing to be right sized. It's painful. It was hard. We did a lot of heavy lifting and made some really hard decisions that were painful for us and for the team, but we've gotten through it. Through it all, though, I'm proud of the team we have and the way that they've been resilient and kept the customer focused. They realized if there's no customer, there's no business. And so we really try to take extra steps to make sure the customer is taken care of in a manner that's at a high level. So I'm proud of that.
Gotcha. Well, I think we're kind of coming near the end of our time. I think every leader's story has kind of a sunrise, that moment where they realize what really matters. If you could kind of share one truth from our call today, kind of the dawn of understanding, what would that be for those of us out here still searching for the light?
Well, I think you've got to listen to your employees, make sure you are seeking feedback from them. Not everything can be actionable, but if you don't seek the feedback, you won't know where the blind spots are. I believe that that's a key to running a successful business. If you listen to your team, uh, you'll get some good answers about where you need to go next with regard to what levers to pull.
That's awesome. Yeah, we do surveys as well. And as an engineer, I see them like event logs that they go back and they tell you what happened, when it happened, how it happened, all of those kinds of things. The early days of IT, when I was training engineers, and they'd come and see me and go, "Hey, I've looked at the issue. I don't know what to do next." One of my first things was always, "Well, what did the event log say?" Basically, what have you actually checked and what have you researched and those kinds of things. And sounds like you're doing that same kind of thing for your business, and it's obviously helped you through that time when you needed it the most.
I think so. Some of it's live conversations too, the stay interviews, the one-to-ones that we have with our team. We put those structured pieces in place to make sure we're listening to them on a daily basis, not just on an annual survey.
I like it. Sounds like you guys have put a lot of time into researching other things there to kind of keep going.
I think so. I think so. It's a group effort. Our management team really focuses on that.
Well, doctor's orders wouldn't be complete without a few prescriptions. Any prescriptions you'd like to add there? Books, references, other things that you think would be helpful?
Well, we talked about customers for life. If you're a customer focused business, I love that book. It doesn't necessarily talk about the engagement, but there's some things in there that I think if you do them well, your team will appreciate and be more engaged because of. It's a great book about customer service. So I would wholeheartedly push for that. If you're a leader in an organization, I would subscribe to finding a peer group. We talked about that earlier. I'm in a Vistage networking group, and I love that ability to connect with peers and just pick their brain. It serves as a mini board for my business and vice versa for theirs. So
Awesome.
those are two things I would do.
That's great. I love that advice. Now, if somebody wanted to reach out to you and get a hold of you, what's the best way to do that?
Thank you. Our website, thomasedwards.com, is always there for people if they want to go there. My email is tom@thomasedwards.com. We're here in Dallas and in Fort Worth, so look for us if you need any hiring help. We're there to help you.
Awesome. Then for myself, you can always reach me, doctor@fulcrumgroup.net, or it's all spelled out. Or if you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn, you can catch me there. Just make sure you connect with me and mention that you're doing it because you watch the podcast. I'm kind of discriminate on who I link up with on LinkedIn. So I ignore a lot of the invites I get because they feel like a sales message is going to hit me likely after I click a link. But thanks for conversation. I think you kind of reminded us that people first culture isn't just or policies. It's kind of the purpose, the communication, and I think you said several times the trust. Making sure that you've got trust with your team. So don't forget something that we talked about today. It's helpful. Share the podcast with someone you love, or share it with someone you hate, as long as they're going to click to subscribe and listen in. Never have to miss another dose of tech insight from me. I'm your host, Steve the Dr. Meek, and the doctor is out. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Steve.